training yesterday.
Perfect. Now we're set.
Everyone's
Thank you.
Who was sitting? Who was sitting? Tom was sitting in the seat. We told him to write your note.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to have it all set up. Let me see if I got any important emails that I should click on and.
No, we'll learn about that today too.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
Howdy.
Good, I made it.
Yeah, we're gonna
Oh, 2 minutes is fair. Oh, it's like there's one more email, one more thing.
I know how that goes.
And then there's almost no parking spot.
Got miles.
Terry, I'm sure you're wishing you were south right now.
I am wishing I was south right now. It was nice and warm. We came back just in time for this.
And the snow. Did you bring it with you?
No, I did not bring it with me.
At least we're not Whitehall.
Yeah.
They get more.
You got
9 inches.
Yeah.
9
It's
inches.
a record for October.
That's depressing.
That's depressing. It's there.
True, that is true.
Weird because.
And I seen 50s like on the weekend, so
Yeah.
that's normal, I guess.
Actually, they were projecting way more snow.
Leaves on the
tree.
Oh, and maybe heavier, probably, yeah.
With the leaves on.
I did hear that, but I didn't hear where it was,
And they could be
so.
wrong, but
It was a little
Canceled
wasn't
holiday.
getting too bad. I know they're talking about a little bit of snow.
Did you guys have a lot of?
severely cold.
5? That's it? Is that normal for you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
About 2/3
Talking
normal.
about
That's what I thought.
120.
That's what I thought. I mean, we had a lot, but not as many as previous years.
That's because of the El Nino.
Yeah.
And
I
El
think,
Nino was.
Chicken into our houses. We get
and it's hard to
processed
predict
candles.
exactly where the snow will go.
Normally they hear about half a snow.
I know, and then they tell people.
Well, we don't
We're
get
not
to very
gonna
many
get any.
trick-or-treaters, so we figure, well, 3 people come.
Right.
So we found a good deal sales.
Yeah.
Like 36 bars, like
78. No, I
50
was.
bucks.
I was.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like less than 50 cents
Actually, after I had already
like
bought all
9
my
years
candy,
old.
we went to P&G and
Oh.
In the
Oh, it was
snow.
so much
they have
fun.
full-size
Yeah,
candy
and
bars.
schoolcraft?
Yes, and we needed to get a card, that's why we stopped. And so I seen all the big candy bars they had, I'm like, that's a good
Well, my
deal.
mom was a nurse here at the
Right.
community health center, and she had to go to work on the
It's
snow.
crazy.
That's
I
kind
mean,
of why we don't go there.
But, I mean, you walk away with, you know, socks if you need it, or gloves if you need it, you know, that kind of stuff, tarp if you need it. But lots of stuff. Oh, I'm sorry.
They all sent it.
What's that?
They all sent it for us.
I think so. Well, I believe so. Let me just make sure. Okay.
I thought that was a good idea. Making sure there's any worse. Send the new guy back there.
That's out there, but he's got a presentation.
You said Josh or something.
Josh,
So. I don't know. It's the same to me.
We're good.
Okay. We'll call the Coldwater Board of Public Utilities Board of Directors meeting to order. Note the roll, Nikki.
Is there any emails prior to 3:30?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none. We'll move on to the consent agenda items. First is going to be the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Directors held on October 4th of 2023. Also, the regular meeting of the Michigan South Central Power Agency Board of Commissioners held on September 6th of 2023. Also, the departmental reports for the Board of Public Utilities, operation reports, and financial statements for September of 2023. The bills and accounts for period ending October 31st of 2023, and also the power supply cost projections. Is there any questions on those items? See none, we'll need a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Got a motion support? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion is passed. Next on the agenda is we're going to introduce new hirees for the engineering technician, Bryce Chesney, and energy waste reduction keys account, Monica McCowan. Sorry if I messed that one up. If you want to get up and tell us a little bit about yourself, stand up at the podium and just tell us who you are. And
Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Monica McCowan, pronounced correctly.
Okay.
I've lived in Coldwater for about 20 years now, so I was not born and raised here. My husband was. We do have 3 children who are all students here at the Coldwater Community Schools. I come from a background in office management, was recently working with Devon Title Agency as an escrow officer there. I will be working with the energy waste reduction program to continue to grow that. And then also we have a nice foundation for our key accounts, and I'd like to continue to grow that and see that be successful here in the community as well.
Do we have any questions for Monica? Santa? Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Glad to have you on board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, President Stevens and members of the board. I'd like to introduce Bryce Chesney. He will be filling our engineering technician position down at the engineering building. Bryce?
Yes, as Andrew said, I'm Bryce. Just recently started working with Coldwater BPU here as their engineering technician. Not originally from Coldwater, I'm from Jackson, Michigan. Just moved here about 1.5 years ago. Just recently graduated from Grand Valley State University with a background in mathematics and engineering. Just looking to grow in this program and help out the BPU as their engineering technician.
Any question for Bryce? Nice to have you. Thank you very much.
Aboard.
Thank you.
Moving on to the regular agenda. Next will be the community engagement update. Abby, you are up.
All right. So last month, the CBPU sponsored the breast cancer awareness fundraising competition between MSCPA communities, Hillsdale, Marshall, Coldwater, and Clinton. I'm happy to report that MSCPA communities raised $4,121.41 for the Susan G. Komen organization. Individually, the communities raised the following. The City of Coldwater raised $3,054.41. City of Marshall raised $465. Village of Clinton raised $424, and the City of Hillsdale raised $178. With that said, the City of Coldwater raised the most money this year and will be the winner of the Pink Ribbon Award. An official press release will be released in the coming weeks. Furthermore, last month we hosted our second blood drive at Heritage Hall. We scheduled 45 appointments, and our goal was to collect 37 units, 11 more units than we had at our previous blood drive. We successfully collected 41 units and 4 units more than our goal. We're also planning our next blood drive in January, but no official date has been set yet. CBPU's electric and telecommunications departments were also present at the BACC's Career Day last month. And this month, the City of Coldwater and the CBPU are focusing our efforts on helping the Branch Area Food Pantry and Toys for Tots. So at this point in time, does anyone have any questions?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Congrats
Well,
on
thanks,
the
guys.
fundraising, yeah.
Thanks, Abby. Back up. Next on the agenda is cybersecurity update. Pat?
Need to be back.
Thanks, President Stephen, board members. Nikki, I don't know if you have to bring that up or if I could just push play. It's down at the bottom of your screen, PowerPoint.
Oh, you're talking to me.
Yep,
Then you put something on I didn't know.
snuck it in there on
You
you.
did. Yeah.
Cybersecurity update. So this is really generated biannually. We do a phishing campaigns with all of our users, and we generally score well above the industry average in people not clicking on. We had a particularly well done campaign this last one, and it caught a little more than we had in the past. So Director Jakubczak asked that I come and do a little presentation and show you how to do that. how it works and some of the cybersecurity awareness stuff that we're working on. So we'll start off real quick with why the hackers hack. It's still ransomware is the big item out there. They're trying to get money. Some of the other new issues that move to remote work has really been a struggle for those that are doing that. Luckily, we're not really in that bucket. We don't do a lot of remote work here. AI is something that's coming up really strong and is going to be a big challenge. It's almost like an arms race because we can use it as well on our side. So there's a real struggle in between there. The AI is getting so good now that they can really duplicate people their voices. So you could get a phone call from somebody saying that they're wanting something and it'll sound exactly like that person. So it's getting tougher and tougher. And really the best method of fixing those is to call that person on a number that you have, for them, because they really can't get to that information yet. They can't spoof it anyway. And then there's a disturbing new trend. Hopefully it's nothing that we would have to work on, but the bad actors are starting to pay insiders to bring in malware and have it, whether installed on their own machine or just walking by another machine and plugging it in. But they're very creative. They find all kinds of ways to try to get into systems. And we'll get into that in the next slide. So on this slide, the first two up there are kind of back-end things that we cover. We'll go through them a little bit more in detail. But the three at the bottom in red are all going to be user human error risks. That's the phishing attacks, ransomware, and imposter scams. Let's see if there's anything else I want to. Oh, and the studies still confirm that 95% of all breaches are caused through those last three. So it's really that human action that's the biggest risk. And you get into the phishing in particular, that's all based on social engineering. So those are the ones where they're sending you emails, you're clicking links, opening attachments, or they could be calling you on the phone, trying to get personal information or business information that way. It's all designed to get access into your systems or steal your data or lock up your data. It all relies on victims doing some sort of action. So those are preventable by the end users. And then you got ransomware. Ransomware is the big money one. That's the one that's really going wild out there. It's a wildfire. Obviously, they're trying to get a ransom for whatever they do. There's no guarantees that if you pay the ransom, that it's going to come through. Another disturbing trend is they're starting to really delay the ransomware. So they're starting to put the ransomware in and letting it get through your backup cycles for longer and longer periods of time before they deploy it. So then it makes it tougher. Their real focus right now is getting on your backups, because they know if you can't restore it, then you're more likely to pay. So that's where they're focusing. On average, a ransomware event costs $4.5 million now. And in 2022, it was a $20 billion industry. So it's, again, victims taking some sort of action that usually cause these events. Imposter scams, these are the officials that either call you or email you. Generally, they're going to be somebody like the IRS or law enforcement, technical support, and they're just like in the phishing. They're going to want to do something in a hurry, and they're going to want. There's going to be some sort of penalty if you don't do it in a hurry. Those are big red flags to watch for. Again, that one is all based on the actions of the end users. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? We do a lot on the back end. to prevent these things. But we can't do it alone on IT. We really need support from the end users themselves. And that's why we do that quarterly cybersecurity awareness training. And we do that with our internal employees, but we're not currently doing that with you folks. Because you guys have email here, we're going to start sending those to you as well, and the city council. So you'll start to see those. Some other things are, weak passwords, and an 8-character complex password is considered a weak password now. It can be cracked in as little as 5 minutes. So NIST is recommending 12 characters plus. We're starting to land on just 16 characters and get it done with. And we will be coming up with some, the next round of cybersecurity awareness training will be coming up with some ways to manage those long passwords and some methods that you can use because I know most people are like, I can't remember the passwords I have now, and I'm reusing them, and and they're shorter, and so. And then MFA, multi-factor authentication. If you have anything that you can use multi-factor authentication on, I suggest you use it. Over 85% of breaches can be stopped that way. It's not a silver bullet like anything we have, but that is one of the ways. So we'll go into a little example here. And this is kind of where we say, stop and think before you click on things. How to spot phishing emails. So we'll go through this email here and see if we can find some things. First of all, were you expecting it? If it's totally unsolicited, perhaps it's, you want to take a really good look at it. If it's an unfamiliar sender, or there's a misspelling in the email address of the sender, a lot of times they'll try to get something that's close. So if it's a vendor, if you're working with somebody like Google or something like that, it might be Google and one of the O's is a 0 or something, for them to try to spoof you and trick you. Unknown parties. So, do I know this person? Am I working with this person on anything? Again, the best way to handle these is to actually, if there's nothing indicating that it's related to you and you don't have someone to call, it's probably best to not do any action on it. Otherwise, don't be afraid to call people. It's really a good way of getting about it. And then that sense of urgency is in there as well. So you see this one says all parties have completed. It's not as aggressive as a lot of the other ones. And I think that's why this one kind of passed through a little harder. I mean, this one's a little tougher to see. I actually had to change it. If you look at the time up there, it's at 12:25 p.m. But for this next slide, I switched it because a lot of times you'll get them in the middle of the night. So if you do get one and it says 4:45 a.m., that's a pretty good indicator that that's not legit and you shouldn't be messing with that one. If it's got links or attachments, think before you click it, because that's where you can get yourself in trouble and get the organization in trouble as well. So, and we do have a way to report suspicious emails, and we will send out a document that shows you how to do this, although it's really easy. Nikki, can you move the Zoom window up there up a little bit? Yeah, if you see those three little dots, that ellipse on the right side, if you click on that, what happened to my mouse? There we go. It'll take this drop down for you. Go down and pick that Barracuda Essentials. And from there, it's just report and provide feedback. That will delete the message for you. Send it to us. We can review it. The nice thing about that is if other people are getting that same one, then we can stop that whole flood, that current flood of them. We did have quite a few people that did report this one. Obviously, we didn't stop it because we were expecting it, but so that's what we got. Like I said, you guys will start seeing some cybersecurity awareness training coming your way, but that's my update. Any questions?
Was that drop down and things also on the mobile app?
So you're using Outlook client?
You have use it on the phone? Yeah.
Is that like an Apple?
Yes.
Like the Apple's default mail?
No, it's the Outlook
Yeah,
app.
Outlook should have
Should
that
have
on
it,
there.
okay.
You know, I'll check on that, and if it is, we'll include that in the documentation that we send you. I'm not really sure if it's working on the Outlook app.
Yeah, I had kind of a weird one, so I just emailed Paul, said this might be.
And if you can't figure it out, just forward it to, you know, the IT staff at coldwater.org, and we'll take a look at it and try to help you as best we can.
Any other questions for Pat?
So if I can just premise, and thanks, Pat. The reason we did this is the phishing exercise that Pat had talked about. There was members, internal staff, but also city council and BPU board that had clicked on the link. So we felt it was adequate and a right time to bring this to your attention, but also to start including you and the city council in the phishing exercise or the cybersecurity exercises that we do on a quarterly basis. Because if you do have access, which you do, to our internal networks through the email system, we want to just make sure that it's one less point that someone can come in and do destruction to our system.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda is the MMEA Board of Directors. Turn over to you, Mr. Director.
Thank you, President Stephen, members of the board. So this was, Nikki and I had a little conversation about this, and we just felt this, just to be clear and transparency, you know, part of my agreement, Section 3C of my employment agreement talks about outside board membership and stuff like that. And I was recently elected to the MMEA board. That was by choice, not because I didn't show up to a meeting. And if you don't know, MMEA is the Michigan Trade Association. It handles the 40 municipalities throughout the state. They do a lot of legislative work. They do a lot of member services as well, too. So currently I was elected to the board with a term that ends in 2027. The current board of directors are representatives from Holland, Lowell, Clinton, Sebring, Lanais, Sturgis, Lansing, and now Coldwater as well, too. I feel it's good to make sure that we are representation and we can provide the benefit that we do here in Coldwater to an organization like that. So nothing to do on this, just an informational item to let you know per the contract as well.
Okay. Next is the AMP alternate representative. Back over to you, Mr. Director.
Thank you, President Stevens, members of the board. So back in February, CBPU approved a alternate representative to handle the board membership for AMP. At that time, when MSCPA put it together, we decided we wanted to have another city be available to be that alternate as well. We elected to go ahead and send that to the city of Marshall, who then put in Kevin Maynard as the AMP alternate. Since that time, AMP had redone its bylaws a little bit and changed the way that they do members at large. This past September, Kevin was elected to the AMP board. So now he doesn't really need a seat at the board and an alternate at the board. So what I'd like to do is ask for your approval for resolution 23-84 and send that to city council to put Andrew Cameron as the alternate for the MSCPA rep on the AMP board.
Any questions on that? We're gonna need a motion one way or the other.
I'll move to approve resolution 2384.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion is passed.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the debt presentation. Tom.
All right. President Stevens, members of the board, do I have a mouse? Yeah. Does it want to operate? There. All right. So I've been with the city for 10 years, and no one has ever asked me to come up and talk about all of the city's debt issuances. A few weeks ago. So anyway, we're going to
to talk about debt. We're not going to talk about it all night. We're going to kind of go through and probably try to do it the most efficient way. We're going to talk about fund by fund. We're going to focus on the utility funds. We'll hit the city general government debt briefly at the end. But anyway, starting off, talk about the electric fund debt. So within the electric fund, we have 3 debt issuances. We have the 2017 that's related to the Jonesville substation. That's the first one on the list there. We have the 2020 Butters substation is on there. That's the one that's under 5 million. And then the other larger one, 2020, is the project for the natural gas generation fund. We didn't do any fancy slides. Basically what I'm showing you here is the name of the issuances. These were the balances at the end of at the end of June fiscal year end, right? Hopping over to the maturity of the debt, which will be more important in some of the other funds. So with these debt issuances, they're all relatively new. You can see that 2017, this is basically showing you the payments each year, and then it shows you when they drop off. So in each one of these issuances, they're new and we've got payments for quite a few more years. Okay, so that is the point. We're going to go down, we're talking about the water debt next. So in the water fund, we'll call it 2 issuances. One is a refinancing of a 2007 issuance, and then one is a portion of a wastewater bond that we've allocated a portion to on the water side. So you can see we have $1 million on the one issuance, 1.1 million on the other side. Then, as you can see here, the point of this is that 2007 refunding series probably has 2 more payments to go. This first year, 2024, that's 2024 fiscal year. Most of these debt payments tend to be earlier in the year, so that payment has been made. Point being is we have 2 more payments to go. Once those payments are done, we will free up about $360,000 of cash a year, which we will then, generally that goes back into the system projects of the waste, in this case, the water department. So, and then the other one, again, is a piggyback on to the larger 2016 issue. That one has quite a long ways to go. Most of our debt issuances relate to wastewater, okay? And again, these are infrastructure items. You see a number of these are refinancing, 2019, 2005, 2004. Then we have these 2 items that are through the state of Michigan, state revolving fund issuances, and then the large one down here that relates to the wastewater treatment plant. That's where we did some work down there, the EQ basin and such. So we have roughly $15 million of debt within the wastewater department. So reasonably very significant. Now, the good news here, we go through, is that on the wastewater side, the debt is reasonably mature. And so we have 2 of our issuances where we've paid the top line here. So 2 of the issuances have 1 more payment to go. And then a third one has 2 more payments to go. So when those are done, I think it's about a little over $500,000 of cash that we free up on an annual basis. And that will most likely be used in the future when we do the large project at the wastewater plant. Timing still is out there a few years, but point is that we do have debt issuances dropping off. And so that excess cash will then be able to be focused on that. And that will be, again, that's going to be a large one and will take up significant resources. Before we talk about the city debt, I do want to talk a little bit going back on the electric fund. Okay, so we talked about these 3 issuances, and these are all, in fact, all of the things we've talked about so far are on our books. If you looked at our balance sheet, look at our financials, you can see these, okay? In addition to these, on the electric side, we have what's called off-balance sheet debt, okay? And that is debt that runs through AMP. Okay? So as I think we're aware, we're part owners of a number of AMP projects. And there are 6 of them. And these are projects where the city has partnered with other communities within the world of AMP on power projects, whether it be large natural gas generation, we've got a bunch of hydro projects. So in each one of these, we own a small percentage of a very large project. So our debt payments are part of our monthly power bill. So we pay roughly $800,000 a month. And these are, AMP has a payment schedule like we do with our regular debt, but we pay AMP essentially each month, kind of it's fixed per month. It adjusts once in a while, but that way for our power, it goes through the cost of power so that it doesn't fluctuate on a month-to-month basis. And so we are roughly paying, that's about $10 million a year that goes through our power bill.
How long is that for?
Each one of those is different, so I would be more than welcome to sit down and we could talk about each one of them. Or, I don't actually have a schedule.
I mean, is it more long-term than short-term?
They are very long. The projects that we're talking about that through AMP are all extremely long projects.
So it wouldn't be advantageous to try
these
to pay
are
those down?
These are 25, 30-year projects that are in the AMP world. And then we have the AMP GS project, that large power project that was discontinued really before it started about 10 years ago. And so we are just about done with our payments on that. That's something we pay every month. Just recently increased our payments because of interest rates. It's advantageous to us to get that done faster versus slower. And so that should be done in about a year. And just before we continue on, each one of these projects is looked at whenever there is availability to refinance. We haven't done any utility refinancing of late, but each one has a schedule of when you are able to refinance. When you are able, then you look at it, you get with your bond counsel, your financial advisors to determine if it's advantageous to refinance. We did a number of refinancing back in the 2015, 2016 timeframe, and each one of those we wrote to reduce our payments. That is something we don't have anything out there that we will be looking at because of the rates right now, but it is something we do keep.
Rates are high?
Rates are high.
Oh.
But it is something, just so you're aware, it is something that we are keeping track of, and whenever the opportunity does arise, we work on it. Okay. And I do want to talk about especially the LDFA debt. The LDFA debt relates essentially to the LDFA 6, which is a large 400-acre parcel of property. Most of you know it as the Clemens property. And so, as I think we're aware, the city and the county and the state of Michigan all got together and did a large project. And so we built infrastructure essentially from the water plant up to the property, and then from the property down to the wastewater facility. And so we have debt out there. This is a little bit different type of debt. Most of our other debt are revenue bonds. Revenue bonds essentially are underpinned by the utility revenue generated by the system. These bonds are essentially geo debt that is essentially underpinned by the city's general government's revenues. But in this particular case, this is in what's called a tax capture zone. So everything within this 400-acre parcel, which is basically one owner, the taxes for most of the city taxes and the county taxes, just to be real general here, are captured. We put them into an account, and then those funds are used to make the bond payments. It doesn't capture all the taxes. It doesn't capture school taxes, for example. But Right now, that fund is generating a small surplus on an annual basis. And so the payments themselves run through 2041. The hope is that around 2032, that when the first opportunity comes to refinance, that A, it will be advantageous, but B, we will have built up a surplus of funds so that instead of just refinancing, we would actually defease the debt and get rid of it. So that's the plan that we have. And then just real briefly, so the general government does have some debt. It has a piece of the debt on the street side here that relates to 2009 wastewater bonds. And then we have right here, we have the rec bonds that were originally in 2013 and 14. These have to do with the aquatic center and then the additions to the rec facility. Those bonds were actually recently refinanced 2021. We have the road bonds, that's where we pay the millage. We have actually the road millage. That is just about wrapped up, and City Council will be looking at that in the upcoming months to see what we want to do going forward, because it will be dropping off. And then a number of years ago, 2017, I believe, we bought a large aerial fire truck. We were also buying another fire truck the next year, so we made the decision that we would actually go through one of our local banks and take out an installment loan. You can't do a lot of bank bond debt through your banks, but you can do installment loans. And so we took advantage of that situation and did the ladder truck or the aerial truck on an installment loan. So, do you have any questions? Come on, John. Come on.
I got the one out, geez. I gotta think of another.
That's it, Tom.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
So one of the reasons, and thanks, Tom, one of the reasons we wanted to bring this to your attention, just as an informational item, so you know how much debt we truly have. But in the next few years, we're going to be looking at that expansion at the wastewater plant. So we just wanted to show you what the plan is and how things are rolling on, rolling off.
Appreciate it.
Is there any public comment? See none, we'll move on to new business. Director, I guess it's up to your report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. So first we'll start with the power cost adjustment. So this month's PCA is 0.01047 and 0.01078 on the secondary side. A lot of this has to do with some increased pricing on the power market side. You're looking at gas prices today, they're around $3.50 to $4.50 over the next 12 to 18 months. I know last month we reported they were sticking around the $3 to $3.50 range, and of course they nudged up a little bit on the back end, so I'm sure it's going to hurt us on the front end. So we're going to continue to do everything we can to keep those costs as low as we can. On the personnel side, we already met Bryce, we already met Monica. In addition to Andrew now getting the alternate seat back, Andrew has also been elected as the chair of the AMP Rice Peaking Project Committee. That's a committee of 2. So Andrew is now the chair of that committee. So congratulations,
You're in charge
Andrew.
of one person. Great job.
Is that Benny?
No. I don't think anyone's in charge. Just a reminder, daylight savings time is this Sunday, so please make sure you set your clocks back 1 hour. You may get an extra hour of sleep, but somehow it never works out that way. Reminder that the November election is on Tuesday, November 7th, and the city and CBPU offices will be closed November 23rd and 24th for the Thanksgiving holiday. We want to wish everyone, our residents and customers alike, a happy Thanksgiving. A couple of things on the backside. We got a lab certification that our lab got certified, and I believe that is on the wastewater side, correct, Brian?
Correct. No.
Water side. We're working on the wastewater one, right?
Yes, they both are.
You can step closer if you can't see. All right. And we also got to thank you on behalf of the ABC Challenge and Coldwater High School Interact Club for our continued sponsorship of the ABC Challenge, as well as our participation from an employee perspective. And that is my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
If there's any questions, date of the next meeting?
I got Wednesday, December 6th.
Okay, is that gonna work for everybody?
Sure.
I know it's a long ways out, isn't it? Don't know what you're doing tomorrow? Okay. We are adjourned.
Okay.
John, you're just gonna come up with another question?
I thought I